Hello, my name is Cronus Adair, and this is X4 Foundations. Today, I'm going to make my first attempt at a guide to X4, and today we're going to be talking about my use of mining depots. Basically, trade stations set up to trade specifically ores. It's something that my last 2 to 3 playthroughs I've been increasing in use on a more active basis, and that basically boils down to efficiency. For my playthrough of the Terran Cadet series, I've been deliberately avoiding the one giant station conglomerate and mainly using distributed medium sized stations. And I've avoided having those stations supply their own ores in favor of getting those ores from mining depots. Now, why do I do that? Well, number one, if that one giant station is got 100 miners assigned to it and suddenly a system opens up 5 jumps away, the station manager may very well tell all those miners to go 5 jumps out of their way, mine, and come back when there's perfectly reasonable amount of resources 2 or 3 jumps away. And what tends to happen is you have to add even more miners because those miners, instead of mining or uh, delivering ore, are traveling. And that's not necessarily something you want them doing. So the way I've got these set up is my miners stay within one system mining. My traders are allowed to go wherever they're needed, pick up ore wherever it is, return it to the ore depot, or take ore from the mining depot and deliver it to whichever station needs it. I have miners assigned to the production stations, but mostly they're in a trading role. All right. I found that stations are a lot better at supplying themselves than other stations. So what I do is I'll put miners, ore and mineral miner, ore and gas miners in to production stations, and they will be set to trade, and they will deliver. They will purchase their ore and silicon and hydrogen and helium needs from the mining depots, whereas the ships assigned to the mining depots, at about a 60-40 split, are mining. All right. So there's a couple stages where you might be conducting operations. Say your early game. Something like this here, just a dock and a liquid and solid storage, would be a great setup for a mining operation. And the reason you do this is because of the way the local auto mine mechanic works. So say I want this miner to local auto mine. Mining, local auto mine, it's only good within one system, which is great if your system actually has the resources that are desired. So for example, the Reach. The Reach has a decent amount of ore, but sometimes, such as this, the Reach has either zero or one ore refinery. If you assign miners to local auto mine the ore and sell to the ore refinery, they'll quickly get to the point where the ore refinery doesn't need any more ore, because not only are you supplying that ore refinery, the AI now gets its own miners to supply it. So what you could do instead is, say, put up that cute little station in Second Contact 2 Flashpoint. Now, it's very easy for you to get the books to train a pilot or manager up to a 2-star. Now, a 2-star station administrator in a station in Second Contact could get all the way to Getsufune, could get to Holy Vision, could get to Void of Opportunity, could get to Grand Exchange, get into some of the Avarice systems, could get a jump past Argon Prime. All right. That's a lot of stations that your manager could potentially be selling minerals and gas to. All right. Now, the other issue is oftentimes miners will fill up on multiple ore types or gas types that the station doesn't actually need. And in this circumstance, they'll just sit there full of the unneeded material, and it's just wasted time. Your station needs silicon desperately, but your miner's full of ice and is waiting for enough storage capacity for ice to decrease to the point where it could drop off its load of ice to do anything else. If you have the mining depots set up to only handle one solid and one liquid, right, one solid, one gas, that will prevent your miners from being bogged down like that. Now, when you have your production station set up that way, well, notice this isn't trading because it's liquid, and this station is full on hydrogen. But the ore and silicon traders are moving because the ore and silicon status is rather low. So the production stations will only buy what they need when they have the capacity for it, and won't. Whereas miners, the station will send out a miner for a certain resource, but by the time it comes back, that station may have gotten other deliveries of said resource, and it just sits there. All right. Now what you do is, as I've done here in Orbelt, I've named each station the material that it deals with: silicon methane, ice helium, or hydrogen. For mid-game depots, you want to probably do something like this. Pretty simple. Just docks and solid liquid storage. This doesn't cost a ton to put up, and the low capacity will keep your wares moving. Interesting thing on the Terran stations is it has the 4-dock T-pier, this thing, on top of the luxury docks. And it's got two of them. Well, you can't cram two. Well, you can if they're far enough apart, and they're rotated to 45 degrees, as both of these are. So I learned that from a creator on YouTube called Team at Vince. I also saw some interesting content regarding mining depots from another creator called Psychotic. I will be linking both of their channels in the description. If you want to check them out, feel free. It's good content. Now, that's what a Terran mining depot would look like. What would a Commonwealth mining depot look like? So I've got these set up in a system I took from the Xenon. Well, I didn't take it, but Terrans took it, but I claimed it. And I've got this kind of on a split motif. All right, it's got plenty of M docking space. I would recommend concentrating on M and L docking space, because most of your traffic is either going to be medium miners or large miners. All right. So just the 8M dock, a couple docks off to the side to handle some small traffic. Then you've got the large piers. Neat trick. You can actually stack two on top of each other before the system tells you, no, you can't do that anymore. Then, of course, solid and liquid storage. It's more intensive than what you need in most situations, but this system's isolated from most of my other space. In my other systems, such as Adventure's Promise, They're just these very simple get-ups. One storage for each type. Plenty of docking. They are armed. They are in potential range of Kaak intrusion, so in contested space, I would recommend arming your mining depots eventually. So how do I keep the miners in said system mining just in that system instead of going 5 jumps out? And the secret to that is blacklists. So I've got a series of trade stations and miners in Mist of Artemis, all set to start up. And I'll show you how I set these up. So first, I will rename them. So I will rename each station for the where type I intend for it to hold. Okay, once that is accomplished, I will go to the logical overview, select trade wares. So you can see the station name right up here. So if you ever forget, you can just look up at the name. And we're going to be doing ice, and we're going to be doing helium. Create a buy and sell order. Create a trade rule that only allows your own faction to trade. Okay, so this is a default. I don't put it as a default trade rule. All right, but I will often set it on my stations because I don't want outside factions supplying me. However, if I only want to sell to my own faction, I will also add that. If I intend to sell to other factions, I would not have this add internal trade only. Okay. So, again, create a buy and sell, switch off of the station setting, and internal trade only. All right. And I will do the same thing for, and notice it changed to the logo of a trading station in the map. So I'm going to set up the other stations the same way. This one is going to be ore and hydrogen. You can see a bolo docking here. All right. And this one is going to be silicon and methane. Okay. Now that my stations are configured properly, let's have them start receiving miners. So I'll assign a miner to mine for the ore hydrogen, but I'll go to individual instructions, deselect use commander settings, create a blacklist, and this will be an activity blacklist. So We're going to call this blacklist Mists of Artemis. It's going to be a sector activity blacklist. And what we're going to do is we're going to click this button. We're going to go to Add Remove Sector, click this button, select all sectors, scroll down to Mists of Artemis, and deselect it. Save blacklist. And now that miner, now and then switch that to the Mists of Artemis sector activities. That miner will only mine in Mists of Artemis. So let's get a gas to do the same thing. Sector activities, Mists of Artemis. We're going to do the same thing here. Now, for the ice depot, I'm not going to set sector activities on the ice miner, simply because there is no ice in Mists of Artemis. And notice it told me that there are no resources in allowed sectors. It's because there are no ice within 2 jumps of the Mists of Artemis mining depot. So,
can I help? Sir.
we train said manager up, reset the default behavior, and in a moment it will send a miner off to mine ice, probably in 3rd redemption. Now there is helium in Mists of Artemis, so we are going to set sector activities to Mists of Artemis. Alright. Now that I've got those configured, next I'm going to take batches of miners and have them mimic the behavior of the miner I just configured. Alright. That way I don't have to micromanage every single miner. Alright, they will just do what I did with the configured miner. That way you don't have to do endless micromanagement. Now for the ice depot, I'm not going to assign it to the first mineral miner simply because there is no ice in Mists of Artemis. If we select, it's actually going to second contact. I'm not giving the ice and helium station as many miners as I am the others, simply because Terrans don't use a whole lot of ice and helium. That's probably their least used resource. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing for the gas. So we're going to take 5 and assign them to mimic the behavior of the initial gas miner I set up. Okay, so I've got all my miners configured. Alright. The ice miners I have ungrouped. The helium miners are grouped to mimic commander settings, so they will mine in Mists of Artemis. Ore miners are configured to stay in Mists of Artemis. And then the methane and silicon miners are also configured to stay within Mists of Artemis. Now, I like the cranes for mining. I like the Sithonios for trading. Okay, now I have all of my traders configured. So I like the Sithonios for trading simply because they're very, very, very fast. We've got this configured. It's got a travel speed of 10K, and that's with the original parented travel engines. I do like to use Terran engines, but I can't always reliably reconfigure them to them, especially when you're doing, buying ships en masse. And what happens with the Terran ships, Terran travel engines, is yes, they're 3K slower, but they generally have better travel acceleration, and their travel charge time is something like 3.5 seconds rather than 14. But it works. And as you see, these are already filling up with silicon and methane. And the miners are filling them from local resources. And their traders are going to outlying training depots and buying ore and silicon, gas and solids from them. As you see, I've got stations, satellite stations configured on the periphery of my systems just to deal with this. And just checking things over, it looks like I could use some more solid miners. In any case, that is how I set up my mining depots. Now, this is kind of what my central hub mining depots look like at this point. Lots of large docking, because in Commonwealth areas I like to use large miners for basically their resiliency to Ka'ak. Lots of storage, because they're going to be supplying the local manufacturing hub within Mists of Artemis. Again, I hope this was useful to you. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.